Hundreds of millions of people have since 1972 heard about the story of a stewardess who survived the fall from supposedly 10 kilometers without a parachute after a plane she was in broke apart due to an explosion of a bomb placed in its hold or luggage area. The story of miraculous survival quickly became a world sensation, covered in thousands of news reports, later also in documentaries, while its heroine, Vesna Vulović, was in 1985 inducted into the Guinness Book of World Records for the survival of the highest fall without a parachute. There are, however, good reasons to doubt this official version of this tragic event. According to a radio documentary called The Miracle of Srpska Kamenice, the day on which Vesna Vulović fell from the sky, by German journalists Peter Hornung and Tim van Beveren, the civilian flight JU367 crashed from a height of only a few hundred meters, definitely no more than 800 meters, and not from 10 kilometers as the official version states. Yes, a planted bomb did damage the plane at an altitude of 10 kilometers, but the plane did not break apart at that point. The aircraft remained largely intact. The pilots continued attempting an emergency landing or searching for a place for such a landing until they reached an altitude of 800 meters or lower, at which point the plane was hit by a Czechoslovak missile, according to these two journalists. They suggest the missile may have been launched from a MiG fighter jet, citing witness Zdeněk Kubik, who claimed he saw another aircraft in the sky at the time of the JU367 flight crash. This theory is supported by multiple witnesses who stated they saw the JU367 plane flying below the clouds before it exploded. In other words, they first saw the plane intact and then witnessed the explosion and its disintegration. This contradicts the official version, which claims that the cockpit detached from the fuselage at an altitude of 10 kilometers. Shortly before the bomb exploded, there were communication issues between the aircraft and air traffic control in Prague. On that day, a summit of Communist Party leaders from Czechoslovakia, Poland, East Germany, and the USSR was taking place in Prague. Around the time of the crash, planes carrying leaders of Warsaw Pact countries were also in the air, returning from the summit. The damaged JAT aircraft, McDonnell Douglas DC-9, deviated from its course, and due to the communication breakdown caused by the explosion, it could not be properly identified. It flew on an unpredictable trajectory and ended up over strategically important military areas like barracks and a nuclear facility. This is a border area between then Eastern Germany and Czechoslovakia. According to Peter Hornung, the aircraft was perceived as a threat and was therefore shot down. A former Yugoslav investigator said, "I was there in 1972 and I can tell you the plane broke up at an altitude of only a few hundred meters, not higher. The crash site spanned just a few square kilometers. In contrast, when a plane breaks up mid-air at an altitude of 9 or 10 kilometers, the debris field typically stretches 20 kilometers in length and width." Surviving flight attendant Vesna Vulović was used to cover up this mistake. The shooting down of the plane, that is. The sensational story of a woman against all odds, miraculously surviving a fall from 10 kilometers without a parachute, a world record, captured global media attention. But beyond the on-site commission and the secret services of Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia, no serious investigation into the cause of the crash took place. The official version, which was formulated unusually quickly, went largely unquestioned. While she was hospitalized, Vesna was under constant police presence. A tape recorder was kept by her bedside at all times. This was allegedly for her protection from supposed threats by the terrorist group that planted the bomb, but in reality it was a means of control and monitoring in case her memory about the Copenhagen-Zagreb flight returned. She suffered namely from memory loss of that entire flight. Vesna was found in the middle section of the fuselage, not, as the official version claims, in the tail of the plane. So the claim that she survived the entire fall from supposedly 10 kilometers in the tail of the plane by being pressed by a food trolley against the inner part of the tail of the plane, which prevented her from falling from the tail section, throughout that free fall of the tail section cannot be true. Moreover, had the passengers truly fallen from a height of 10 or 9 kilometers, as would have happened if the aircraft had broken apart at that altitude, their bodies would have been severely mutilated, but they weren't. In the case, they weren't, and that is also what is claimed in the reports, that the bodies were found whole. In contrast, in the case of another aircraft disaster, namely the collision of two aircraft above Zagreb, more or less above Zagreb in 1976, witnesses reported finding body parts scattered across the site. The official report on that incident is in the description. And that report states that the crew's bodies were not found whole. In contrast, the bodies of the victims from JU367 flight were found whole. Furthermore, if the plane had disintegrated at 10 kilometers, at a height of 10 kilometers, all passengers would have simply frozen, because the temperatures at that height are around minus 50 degrees Celsius. However, the medical reports found no evidence of frostbite or freezing among the victims. The authors of the documentary conclude, therefore, that the official version of events was a cover-up by the secret services of Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia. Cover-up of what they claim was the true version of events, and that was namely the shooting of a civilian aircraft by mistake. Shooting down of a civilian aircraft by mistake.